So after you guys log in, this is kind of what will happen as you guys, kind of go through operations every morning when you're opening and closing and such. So when you first log
Yeah.
in, you'll want to start with your time clock. That would be just going to the time clock tab over here and selecting the employee name and such that you're going to have clocked in. So you would just select your name for right now, Gabriel, since we're working together. You would just select clock in. Basically, what's going to happen is it's going to ask you which business activity you're part of. It'll give you the exact timestamp and such. You can also put in notes, excuse me, notes for the employee itself. So, like say the employee forgot to clock in and you need to make the correction later on in the day, you can put in something in that note saying, fixed time by 15 minutes, or add it or edit or, employee showed up late and such, whichever you guys prefer there. Once you're done there, you can just hit save. What will happen is that the employee will now be clocked in. You'll see that the time in shows when you guys exactly clocked in. Then it'll also show when your time's out or if it's not clocked out at the moment. Um, as you guys go along, when you clock out and such and clock back in, say, you make a wrong punch or you forget to punch back in after you take a break or something, you can always go to edit punches. And I'll pull that up real quick. So you'll see here it shows the employee name and everything right here. You can just select employee and then it'll tell you which times you want to change. Once you make those changes, you just want to say create new punch. Once you do that, what will happen is it will save the corrected time. It will say that it's a corrected time based on the report, but it will just show you there and you can put a comment saying forgot to clock back in or something so that we understand what the reason for the edit of the time clock was. Once you're finished, like I said, just hit the create new punch and then hit save.
I just want to basically make sure that they're not getting paid off of this still though.
Mm-mm. I think you
Yeah.
guys are still going to use your time clock software and such. I don't think that's going to change much, but this is going to have it where you guys are at least clocked in order to assign roles for each other.
Just making sure.
Nope, you're good. Not, it's a good question there. Um, the employee report is just going to show when they clocked in and clocked out. Payroll report, it's not going to probably affect you guys much or you're going to need it much. You still have the option to print it out if you need it. Um, when you guys go to clock in and clock out, when you select an employee, the name will change to right here where it says selected employee. Um, and then as you go along, you'll notice that it has like a little border around which option's not selected or the border around the option that you cannot be selected because it hasn't been selected on the other end. So like for the most, these are all going to say clock out is not an option right now. They still need to clock in. For you, it would show where it needs to clock out if they need to move on. But that's just it for the time clock. Like I said, that's just so that you guys can assign employees to the roles on the service tickets and such. Um,
Yeah.
so once you guys do that, you'll just go into cash drawer management as your next step. This is going to open the business day. So what we're going to do now is just consider we're going to try to open up for today. So we'd just come in, we'd say open business day. What's going to happen is it's going to check for time kind of like it does for the employees. And then basically you can have the option to put in a note. If you want to put in like today's, half off, for ladies or, whatever kind of thing you guys are having, just to kind of give you a heads up of what's going on with that day. You do have the option to select an opening weather, um, what the weather was before you guys come in. It's kind of a feature in there that's just used to kind of just track, what types of days are going why it's one maybe slower than the others and such. It's not a necessity to select, but it is there if you do decide to use that. And you can just hit save. And now you're considered open for the business day here. So the next thing we want to do is start the cash drawer shift. When you start a cash drawer shift, this is basically like when you guys open up using the older software, and it asks you to put in a cash drawer amount. So when you go to start cash drawer shift, basically what's going to happen is it's going to tell you who's starting it based on the employee name here, who's logging in. It's going to tell you your time and such when you're starting the cash drawer shift, and it's going to ask for an opening amount. This is what you're actually starting your cash drawer with. So by default, I don't know what you guys use, but we'll just start with $100 right here. And you just add it into that little field. You can set a default in the store setup option. So if you guys know you start with your cash drawers at a certain amount each day, you don't really need to have it where you can put in any amount. You can add that as well. So we'll just go ahead and hit save. It's just going to confirm that this is how much you want to open for. Before you guys go ahead and open the shift, we'll just say yes, we are opening for $100. And now you're ready to do business. It's pretty simple there. You can have multiple cash drawers throughout the day. Um, you just have to start and end the cash drawer
Wait,
shift. Go ahead.
you thought you have multiple cash drawers through the day?
So you can have multiple cash drawer shifts throughout the day. You're not just set to this one cash drawer shift. Um, so if you start a
But
cash drawer shift and then you close one out midday, you're able to do that and then restart a new cash drawer shift.
but it's completely fine to just leave one cash drawer shift.
So if you guys only have one cash drawer shift throughout the day, like you only have one cash drawer, you never change the amounts, you never take money out and stuff like that, you can do it that way. Now, if you're moving money from the cash drawer, you need to do a cash transfer to your safe, meaning like this is how much money I'm taking out of my drawer and I'm moving it over, kind of like a deposit or midday deposit in your eyes. Basically, when you
So
in,
I'm
go ahead.
so I'm probably jumping the gun, but I see at the bottom left create deposit and cash transfer. So if I like halfway through the day we like to make a cash drop so the drawer will be closer to 200. So like if I was doing a midday deposit, would I do create deposit or create transfer?
You
Sorry if
would
I'm
you
jumping the gun.
No, you're good. And that's kind of what I was trying to explain a little bit was the cash transfer is probably better for that regards, meaning that you're going to say, okay, throughout the day, we take out money from the current shift, you know what I mean, or the cash drawer that we already have in place. So I would say, okay, I have this much money on this cash drawer shift. I want to take out, $50 and move it to my safe. So basically what I want to do is say, okay, I want to transfer cash. It's going to ask from which device. You would say select that, and you would just say, okay, I'm going to select from my till, meaning my cash drawer. And then what I'm going to do is say, okay, I'm going to transfer it to my safe, meaning that I'm bringing this over and saying that this is going into my safe until I'm ready to make the deposit to the bank later on. Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
It's like it's not that it might not be the terminology safe in your eyes, but like basically this is what you're saying you're taking out, and this is eventually going to go to the bank later. You know what I mean? Like this is not something we're going to put back in our drawer. And then you would just put
Yeah,
the
it's the
amount that
same
you're
thing.
taking out, and then
Yeah.
basically you would just say transfer. It'll create a little report showing that, and we'll do that here in a moment just to kind of give you a heads up on how that works. But that's kind of that. That's how the gist of it is. Um, so we'll go back now. So since we're open, we have a cash drawer shift running. We're good to do sales now. So what we're going to do is go to point of sale, and you'll notice this is where everything's going to happen from here. So what we'll
Yeah.
do is you have a customer, you have vehicle, and then you have services. You'll have history, so you can look up by the customer name. You can also look up by the vehicle. So we'll just go look up a customer real quick. We'll start with a Smith, just because that's
Do
a
OB. Oh, okay.
do
I
which
was about
name?
to say do OB. OBI.
Like this?
No, O as in
OB.
Omega. Yeah. I.
Okay.
Yeah, that top one right there.
All right. So we'll select that one. And then I'll ask for a vehicle. It did not have a vehicle associated with that or something that we had for that customer. So what we want to do is put in the VIN for a vehicle. So let me just add one real quick.
I usually do train 123.
For
That
the plate number.
no for the VIN, because then after you enter that, you can select the vehicle.
Okay. Well, let's just do that then. It wants to see a good VIN. What we'll do is do this right here under the license plate. And it looks like we have a Kia Forte for that device here. And so what you'll notice now is I have a customer on the left-hand side, and then I also have a vehicle on the right-hand side. So most of your customers are going to have a vehicle associated with the customer name, and you also have a vehicle. You can select each one. So if you want to look at the customer itself, if you need to edit anything here to say they changed their address or anything like that, you could go in here and make those changes. If you want to view the history for that customer, you can hit the history option. And what will happen is it'll generate a report and just kind of show you, the breakdown of everything that's happened with this customer since they've been here. So there's nothing here so far. It does show vehicles, multiple vehicles for that that customer. So you do have that. The vehicle that we
So
have
are
right now.
those,
Go ahead.
so when the customer's on the left side
Mm-hmm.
and that vehicle on the right side, are those always affiliated with one another when they're beside each other like that?
Yes. So as long as the history
Okay.
is correct based on what's been, cashed out as for this customer within the system, it's going to show you which vehicle belongs to that customer. Anytime you look up a customer, it will associate a vehicle with it. And if they have multiple vehicles, what will happen is it will usually say, okay, I have two different types of vehicles for this customer. Which vehicle is it? And then that's when you would select it there. Typically, you guys usually scan in vehicles, so most of the time you're not going to look it up by the customer name, so it's already going to automatically associate the customer with the vehicle that's coming in, and it's just going to be kind of backwards from what I just showed you. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
it does.
All right, cool. And so you'll notice that we have the vehicle on the right hand side. You can select that, and it's always going to ask you to put in the odometer amount from the first time around. And you're just going to hit done, and it'll bring up all this information here. So it's not a VIN vehicle. You can add a VIN if you would like, um, if you need to at some point. For right now, I would just leave it as is because we're just trying to show how this vehicle works. If it doesn't have a VIN associated, you can always edit it here. Most vehicles will have a VIN associated with it, so you won't be able to make that change to the edit vehicle configuration. You can put in your intervals for months, distance, and such. But based on your services you guys already have existing, it will have those intervals on there for like static stickers and such. You can also select where they opt out of Carfax. So if they don't want to report to Carfax, you can select that option up there and such. And if you need to change license plate number or vehicle number or something, you can change it there as well. Once you're done there, you can just hit save. And you'll notice here I have the history on the right hand side, but also I have my work order, my lube specs, my part specs, oil light specs, diagrams, PM report. I wouldn't really be too concerned about for you guys. And then the Carfax will be an optional thing there, but you'll have to have a VIN associated with the vehicle. And also Carfax will need to be turned on. It's not turned on right now just due to the fact we're just doing a quick training for this. But let's just say we want to see the history. You'll just select the history option. It's just going to give you a report of the history of this vehicle and the services that were performed. And as you notice at the bottom, as you go down, it'll just show you the dates that they came in, tell you what type of, tell you which store it's coming from, which service that, was done for the vehicle, anything as such. It'll tell you how many visits you guys have. And this is able to be printed out if you ever need it. And you just select the print option at the top. And it's going to be very similar for all reports within the software. It'll also bring up your latest, the last time you had an oil change, last time you had a cabin air filter change. It's just based on whatever PM service types that you guys have in place, meaning like oil filters, air filters, cabin air filters, and such. And it'll tell you the last oil filter used. And so we'll go view the work order on the left-hand side. This is where you'll view your work order and everything. Also on the left-hand side, you'll see vehicle history summary. It kind of just gives you what we just kind of went over in the history there. It's just like a quick synopsis of what happened last for this vehicle. But if you ever need to see it, it'll tell you how many invoices were done for that vehicle and everything and such. Here you'll notice this is very similar to what the work order is that you guys see now. It does highlight it yellow how much quarts are supposed to be used. Gives you your oil viscosities, oil grade. You go down and gives you a little more different specs and stuff like that. At the top, it's just going to go. It'll show you which parts are here. It'll tell you if it's in stock, whether it's not in stock, and your price and everything based on if it is in the inventory. You can always print it out using the tab at the top, like I said. Also, you can break it down. So if like you just want to see the lube specs or you just want to see the part specs, it will bring up the work order that way. So you don't have to see the whole work order. You can just see what, maybe you just need to see the parts for it. Maybe you just need to see the lube specs, but it can just bring it up just like that as well. So you don't have to see the whole work order. And those are able to be printed as well. So once you're finished there, that's how you enter or add a vehicle to the point of sale. You'll notice that I have a service order number, and then you'll see I have multiples right here. This is the left-hand side. This is where my cards will be queued up as I enter them into the system. So as I bring in new vehicles, or as a new vehicle comes in, I might have another vehicle on another like computer, another bay. It will tell you where it's in use at. So right now, this one's in use at office computer. This one right here says ready for cash out. So that means that this service order right here has been completed earlier on. But you can toggle between them by selecting them. Shows that this one doesn't have anything. We'll use that for a test here to kind of show you how to cancel a customer. But we'll go back to this one. But it will give you your license plate number, your vehicle number, the model type, the name of the customer of each service order, so you know which ones you're toggling between. And then if you know, based on what you see here, you can also match that service order number to the top right here on that orange bar and everything like that. You'll have your bay times on the right hand side, and once you get them in the system, you got everything you need, you know which services they need. The next thing you would do is just go to services. And what it's going to do is bring up a little drop down menu. Most of your service, I think you guys only have, so you only have lube as a business activity, so it's not necessary to toggle between these as much. Same with service category, you can just leave it as all. But your service groups will be important. This is where you can select different types of services through the system, and it's only going to bring up those types of services. So if I just want to see oil change services, if I just select full service oil changes, it's only going to bring up my oil change services. It's not going to be like air filters a part of this or anything like that. Same goes for if I want, let's just say air filter as an example. If I just want air filter services, it'll just bring up air filter. I don't have to scroll through that long list of different types of services and make sure I select one.
Two quick things.
Uh-huh.
First off, while you're on the air filter,
Mm-hmm.
why doesn't it show the air filter number and price?
So this is just the service that's going to be selected. So if I was to select air filter service right here,
Yeah.
what will happen is it's going to bring up a menu, and you'll notice over here it'll
Uh,
tell me the part number that's recommended based on what's coming from the work order, and it's going to tell me whether I
uh,
have it in stock or not. So I can automatically select that here, and then it's going to say that's the one I want to select, or say that's not the correct number, or I want to get a different one, maybe a premium type filter. I can select it from the drop down list, and then I can go scroll through the list and try to find through all my air filters which one is supposed to belong with that vehicle or what we're selling for that vehicle.
is there a way to, instead of scrolling, to type in the one you need instead of scrolling to find it, or I have to scroll and find it?
You would have to scroll and find it because we're only going to give that one that's recommended from the work order on the left hand side.
Okay.
So if there's something that you guys know, that you're going to sell as like maybe a premium type filter and it's not displaying here, you're going to have to go through the list and drop down and find it.
Um, the next thing I'm going to ask for training purposes, could you go ahead and service an air filter, a cabin air filter, wiper blades, and a coolant exchange and an oil exchange so I can see how that looks?
Yeah, so we'll do the air filter first. So this is the air filter that is in place that they need. So we're just going to hit done. And then basically it's just going to ask who the salesperson was. Since you're the only one clocked in, this is where I was referring to like who's it's going to ask who's clocked in. Now you could select an only clocked in employees and then say, okay, it's only going to say that still because that's the only one that's clocked in. If they have a service request, say they want to keep the old air filter, you can put it in there as well, but I don't think that's necessary. So once you're done with that, you just hit X. You'll notice the air filter is part of the service ticket now. It gives you your pricing down at the bottom and everything. And say we want to do the cabin air filter now. So we just go back to services. We just X out there. We'll just go back to services. And then we're going to hit service group. We're going to go to cabin air filter. And basically it's just going to bring up the cabin air filter or the cabin filter service. You'll select that. And what it's going to do is bring up that same type of menu. And then now you'll notice it gives two different options. So you have one that shows an in stock of doesn't know, it doesn't see anything there for it. And then you have one that says yes, in stock. Say you know that you want to sell the one with in stock, just the standard one. It doesn't have the H character at the end. You would just say yes. And it's going to apply this one here. It's just going to say this was the last one that was used, but this is the one that we're displaying for it now. And you just hit done. Same thing, you would just select the salesperson for that. and then you just hit the X at the top, and that be applied to. And it's just going to add them as they go down. They'll be their own individual line items. Um, so say we want to do a full service next. So let's just go to all service groups again. And let's go down to full service oil changes. And then I'll let you select which service that you would perform for this vehicle or sell. So go back there and select, yep. So give them high mileage. So you'll select that. So that's a synthetic one. And then it's going to tell you which one it is there. And then you're going to select based on the oil type. It's going to give you based on whatever one. So that's just 1 quart right there. So we want to select how many quarts it's asking for.
All right. So the next problem though is, we don't. Okay, let's just see what it does first before I say anything, because I feel like everything I've been saying to you, it's just been, you've just corrected it like immediately. So now I would just hit X out, right?
You want to select the salesperson real quick.
Now X out.
Then X out. That's correct.
All right. So why? Okay, see, now here's the problem. So why is it charging? Because I got the synthetic oil filter. Okay,
Yeah.
see, that threw me off a little bit, because
Yeah.
it's asking me for the quantity of oil quarts.
Yep.
But it's like, why? You know what I mean? But I understand that's the same part as when you're entering the oil on the oil program, how
Yep.
many quarts of oil you put in there. The program is going to know to do the math for extra
Exactly.
quarts of oil times 5 quarts of oil.
Exactly. We're set to include up to 5 quarts. Anything after 5 quarts is going to charge based on each type. And then what it's going to ask for this one, since we have the checklist set and then also the roles, so you can press go back there, so that'll apply that. This is going to be like your full service checklist, and this is only going to be applied for your full service oil changes. And it's going to be very similar to what you already use, but it's going to be a drop down menu, so you can select each one instead of having to click, each time you want to get to each one. And you can scroll down on that menu because there's other stuff towards the bottom there. So once you're done there, like I said, with full service oil changes, it's always going to have you fill out that checklist, also assign the roles, and then you can select the salesperson as well if it's a commissionable sale. Then at the right-hand corner at the top, you have the red X. Just go ahead and just close out of that, and you have the option to select your next service. So let's just do wipers real quick, and then I want to show you how to remove items as well while we have a ticket open, so that you know how to remove an item from a ticket as well. So say they decided they didn't want that anymore, or you don't need that on the ticket anymore.
If I'm correct, you just click the service you want to delete, and it gives you an option to delete, correct?
Yep. So let's just select wiper blade real quick.
You want me to?
I was going to do it real quick. If you want to go ahead and select it, you'll see on the left-hand side, that's your recommended parts, and it tells you what's in stock. And then this is how many quantity it's going to be. So say you want to sell just one, you just say one. And you can select the salesperson.
There was 2 different sizes, so am I just going to have to go back and click the other one again?
That's correct. Based on how we sell the wiper blades, we're selling it as single units because the fact that some do have different sizing.
Got you. This is you've made my day, my friend.
And then you can just hit the red X at the top. So say they decided they didn't want the air filter service. They're like, I can't do a $200 ticket today. Go ahead and just select that, and you'll see the remove at the top, and it'll just ask if you want to remove it, and it just removes it. That's all you have to do to remove an item from the service order. So that's all you have to do for like adding services. Like I said, it's pretty smooth when it comes to just putting them in. Like I said, on the left-hand side, it's going to give you what's on the work order based on what we recommend for that vehicle. But, say if that's not the one that they want a synthetic or, one that's not being displayed or an optional one to select from, you can drop down that menu and select from there as well. So once we're done with that, just hit red X. Yep. And then once we're done with that, if they ever had a discount that need to be applied, you could select discounts at the top, and I'll have you select that real quick. and you'll notice that it brings up all your different types. So your discounts and coupons are all going to be in the same spot. So whether it's a percentage off or whether it's a dollar amount off, they're all going to be in this location. So this one might be a little more
So,
tricky, but we'll have it where you guys can scan that in and grab it from there.
so we are currently doing scan only.
Mm-hmm.
Is this going to be the same factor on this, or are we going to only be able to scan, or can we still loan? Or you don't know that yet?
I'm not positive on that. I can't give you a definitive answer right at the moment, so I'm going to say don't know, unfortunately. I'll check with development and see what the game plan is for that. I can't remember what we have going for Store 1, but I know they have the option to scan in with the coupons instead of having to select it each time. So, but I do know what you're referring to, meaning like the scan only option. But that's for, like I said,
Let's put a discount on that right now. Then I'm gonna go ahead and select one. Let's do that one.
And then once you're done with that, like, if you add a discount, you'll notice the discount at the bottom was applied for $15. You'll notice also it shows the tax that's being displayed. It tells you your net labor, the service cost, but then it also tells you your net cost, meaning your grand total, what it would be based on discounts applied and everything like that. And you can maximize these or like bring up what it says. So like say, maybe you added the wrong discount or something, or you want to make sure you added the right discount to it. You can look at it, say, I don't want to see it anymore, and just do that. So you're finished there. You do have your notes option at the top. Once you enter a customer and a vehicle in there, you can add your notes to the vehicle. You guys have your notes that are already been in that for customer before. You also have the other types of notes, so you can put those in there. I'll let you take over real quick.
Sorry,
No, you're good. So let's just back out of this real quick. So we're just going to say done. So you have a private note for the customer there. You have a vehicle note, and then you have a service order note. So the customer note's just, mainly for the customer. Like, this customer came in, asked for this, we did this for them. Or, say the vehicle notes say, this is what we noticed on the vehicle. And then you have your service order notes say, we added this, amount of oil, or, after, the oil change was done, this is, what we noticed or something. You can have it where you have different types here.
Yeah, that's what I want right there.
So you can select a bunch of different ones. So like say, I need that, I need that, I need that, I can say done. And then basically you'll notice it all comes here. But you do have the option. Yep. And then if you have to, you can also add a custom one. So like say, there's one you want to add, like you were kind of doing, you can just put a note in there saying, I'm just saying for test. And then, if I leave it unprivate, this will print out with the customer's receipt. If I leave it private, it's only for, take 5 purposes at that point. So I'll just cancel that off because we're not going to do that one. And then what we're going to do down here is just say done. And then like you were saying, you just hit the red X once you're finished. And then you're good to go. So at this point, vehicle is taken care of. We got all the services in there that we needed. We put in our notes about the customer. And now we can go ahead and go to payment. So I'm going to have you go up to payment at the top. And you'll notice you have all your different payment types here. So if you do cash, you're able to select a certain amount. You can select all of them at once, or you can select, maybe like a close. So you have maybe $162. They give you $165, and they'll give you that option. So that's just telling you that you completed the ticket. It doesn't mean that you're accepting payment. So let's go to payment again, and then hit cash, and then tell you which payment you're applying, then say cash out, and then that will cash out the ticket. It's going to tell us that we don't have an invoice printer set up. That's fine. You just go ahead and hit yes real quick. And then you'll notice here that it's going to generate a little invoice here.
So, man, you've made my day today. I can't even lie to you.
So you'll have your vehicle notes at the bottom. You'll have your service checklist. It's all going to look very similar to what you guys have in place. And you can select a printer up here as well. You don't have to have a printer set up. So you can say print from that one and it'll print it from there.
Hopefully that's the right printer, because they've been doing some updates in my shop and they took all my wireless capabilities away. So now all I can do is use wired. But the computer in my office isn't wired. You can't connect a wire to it, unfortunately.
Understood.
Wow, man, I'm gonna see if it just printed out right now.
Okay. We'll just leave
I'm
this
still
up.
here. I'll let you take it back over and you can continue.
Okay. So do we have another service order? Once you finish
Well,
getting that, just let me know.
I do got a question. I don't see a reprint possibility. Is that
So go back to
is
cash
that
store management,
okay?
and then you'll
Oh,
notice reprint
reprint.
invoice. And then when you go in there, you can select
Oh,
by date name. Like, so if I want to go, say search by date, and you can do it by date range, everything and such. It'll tell you the customer name. As much information you can provide, that's the most information you can look up by. So like we had it up to customer name, so you could always look it all the way up to the customer name, but it'll provide the ticket there.
wow, dude, that looks wow. That's awesome.
And you can do it by invoice number. You can do it by date range. There's several options that you can do it from as long as you have the correct information that was placed with that vehicle. I think that's
Uh,
printing it to PDF. That's all that was
oh,
doing. So,
I'm
but
just trying to make sure that it's printing because I only see the three.
yeah, no,
Oh,
you're
here
good.
we go. Yeah, the brother MFC is that. I'm pretty sure that's the one that's in my office. Yeah, status offline.
Gotcha.
Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I can print.
No, you're
That's
okay.
all.
And we can get it. We can get that set up at the end. That's not a huge thing right now.
Oh, cool. Go ahead and continue. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. So we'll let that finish real quick as that's printing. And we're gonna go ahead and exit out of there. We'll exit out of here for right now. So let's go back to the point of sale. So I did want to show you while we're still in the point of sale area. We had an open service order ticket right here that had nothing on it. Um,
Okay.
if you have a customer and vehicle, that's fine. It's not going to keep you from canceling. But ever say you just need to clear out a service order that's in there. Say that the customer decided they didn't want the services performed, or you need to cancel a customer. You just need to go to payment. Um, you have the option to cancel from here. And you also do have the option to do an estimate. So if a customer asks for an estimate, you can do the same thing. So once you get your customer in there and the vehicle in there and say they, want to get, an estimate of a service, you enter the service in and then you would select payment and select estimate instead of cashing out. Um,
Oh,
cancel,
you just cancel it?
and then cancel it, you just hit cancel and just say, do you want to cancel the service order? And you just say yes. And what will happen is it'll just cancel and remove it. So
Got you.
like I said, we're done for sales for the day and such. Let's go back to cash store management. We're ready to close out for the day and such. You know where your
Right.
reprint invoice is. You do know this is where void invoice is. Basically, if you ever need to void an invoice, you'll see a list of all your invoices during this cash store shift, and you could select it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be very simple. You would just select void invoice. What's going to happen is
Yeah.
say, do you want to proceed with the void? You'd say either yes or no. I'm going to say no
Uh-huh.
for this so that we have a
Okay.
sale for today. And then
Okay.
that's all it would be. It would print out a receipt, and also it's going to bring a watermark on the actual invoice saying that this was a void. It'll say void across it, just like a reprint
What do you
receipt
mean
would
a
say.
watermark?
So on the actual invoice itself, it's going to show like a thing in the background that
Oh,
shows it's a void.
got you. I know what you mean now.
Yep, that's all it's going to do. Say, you need to make that cash transfer during the day, kind of like I was talking about, not closing the
Okay.
cash store shift, but just say I'm taking money out of the drawer. This is what it would be. So say we started off with $100. Say we want to move,
Yeah.
$50. I'd go to cash transfer,
Yeah.
go to my
Yeah.
terminals cash drawer, and you'd see
Yeah.
here where it shows the amount that I have on hand. And that
Yeah.
includes the $100. I would just select I want to take it from my till
Two.
and I want to move it
Yeah.
to my safe.
Safe. Yeah.
And then basically I just
And
say
then
this is how much I'm taking out. Say we want to take out $50 real quick. And then basically you just
so I
select
guess
transfer. And it says, are you sure you want to
yeah.
transfer $50 from your till, which means your cash drawer, to your safe? Meaning like
Yeah.
this is what I'm taking and I'm putting it aside saying that this is going to be deposited later. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And then
So wait, no, wait, you just lost me there. Okay, so it is something very small. So basically, I'm transferring to my safe.
Yep.
But at the end of the night, do I need to consider my safe a deposit?
Yes, that's correct. So when you're moving it to the safe, basically you're saying that this money is being accounted for or it's moving somewhere. Um, like you don't want to create a deposit while you have an open cash drawer shift because of the fact that, you need to mark that this money was moved somewhere else and it's not really being deposited at the bank. So right now you see that I made a $50 transaction from my cash drawer to my safe right here. And that's what this report shows for the cash transfer. And so let me just press go back here. And now you'll notice that my cash drawer now shows an amount of $211.92. So I started off with $100. I made $162.92 sale, but I took $50 and I moved it to my safe. That $50 I'm planning to deposit later, but that's already going to be marked in my deposit that I have $50 in the safe. Do you see that here now?
Yeah.
So what I want to do is say, okay, this is what I'm going to deposit later. It could be that $50, but let's just finish up real quick and it'll all kind of flow together here in just a moment. These reports down below, the management reports, this will give you, your sales reports, your cash drawer shift report, your deposit report, your hourly performance. Those reports will come up except for the hourly performance, like as you go along through that process. So your cash drawer shift report will be displayed when you guys close out a cash drawer shift. Your sales reports will be displayed when you close business day, or if you need to view them midday, you can view them as well. Your deposit report will be displayed when you make a deposit. And you also have the option to go back and reprint those out, but you have that option to select them at any point. So let's just go say we're ready to close out for the day. We made that cash transfer midday, so let's just pretend that, like we've done other sales in between that time and such. We're ready to close out. We did, our midday deposit earlier in the day, and that's waiting in the safe. So we'll go to in cash drawer shift. You'll notice that it shows from my cash drawer shift that this is an unreconciled shift right here, meaning that I have a drawer amount of this right now. I've already moved $50 into my safe from this cash drawer shift, but I want to go ahead and close it out. So what I want to do is say reconcile and close. And basically this is going to include all my dollar, like actual cash in the drawer. So you'll see here on my left-hand side, I have a cash calculator. And when I enter in those amounts to my cash calculator, it's going to go over to my counted amount over here. So they're highlighted both kind of like a orangish light color right here where it says 0 and zeros over here. So let's just say, I had two $100 bills in there. Just say I have two ones. We're 8 cents over. We'll just go with 8 cents to say, that's how it is. So you'll notice that it tells me my total expected value was supposed to be this. This is how much I was actually over. So I had $212 is what I counted. The guy didn't want change back or something. Once I'm done with that, it'll show my other payment types here. So if I had like a Visa transaction sale and stuff like that, those are going to be very self-explanatory. It's not going to ask. You just put in the amounts that it is, kind of like what you do now, but it's not going to be anything that really requires any effort or, anything that requires on your end. So once you're done with that, you just hit save. What's going to happen is that this will balance the shift and close it. This cannot be undone. Currently, the drawer is out of balance by $8. Is this correct? Just say it is correct. And what will happen is say this drawer reconciled successfully, meaning that this cash drawer has ended. It'll give you this report right here. It'll tell you your payment summaries at the top. So it'll tell you different payment types that you had. So you had a cash payment type. Tell you your payment details based on what they give you and everything. It'll tell you your different types of transactions. So you showed here that you opened for the $100 amount. It shows here that you did a cash transfer of $50, and it also shows here that you closed out for $212. Does that make sense now?
It does.
Okay. And then once you're done, this will tell you what's not in the safe, meaning that we have all money accounted for at this point. It tells you how much you were over, so 8 cents you're over. Not a big deal. It's just telling you that you have that amount there. And once you're done, you just print this out like normal. So I'm just printing these out. I don't know if it's actually printing out from there, but we'll attempt to real quick. So we're done with that. And you notice here that it's all good here. So I could start a new cash drawer shift, say that's what you guys wanted to do. If you're just going to run one cash drawer shift and just move money over throughout the day, after you guys reach a certain point, like I said, the cash transfer is more, effective in that manner. Once you do that, you would just hit close business day. Basically, this is just saying, I'm no longer going to do business or anything. It's going to ask my opening whether to show my closing whether. It's not a necessity to select it, but you have the option. Once you're good with that, you can hit save. If you're sure you want to close the business day, it'll just say yes. Let's say this person's still clocked in. Would you like to clock this out? And you can say yes. Say that person already clocked out, or somebody that forgot to clock out there, you can say no. It doesn't really matter. You guys aren't tracking with that, but you have that. You'll notice here it shows basically a breakdown of how everything was sold. You'll have a count of 4 based on 4 services sold. And it'll tell you exactly, if you break it down by each one, it'll tell you exactly what was sold with it. It'll tell the service type, it'll tell you your parts and everything. And it'll break down the cost, everything as well. And it'll give you your part number as you select those as you go along, discounts that were applied, taxes and everything like that. What's all the taxable sales? When it was opened, when it closed. And then you'll see at the top right here your counts here and everything and such. You can print this out. And like I said, you also have in the management reports the option to print that out later on as well. This is kind of like what you get when you print out your Z report each day. So once you finish there, you just hit X, and it's just going to say it's going to close business day, process started, building data, send to Carfax, close business day, process complete. You'll just press go back, and it's going to back up the database. So basically whatever you've done, it's just going to back it up like normal. So you'll see that it's basically ready to be open for business again. You do have the option, say that they did open and they closed accidentally throughout the day. You have the option to go back in and open. It'll be considered a new business date in some regards. It still would be considered June 6th, but it would be a different June 6th. Does that make sense? It'd be a reopening. Like it doesn't append data to it. It doesn't append the sales to each other.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't affect the computer with me doing that.
Yeah. So create deposit. This is where you're going to notice that this is the cash I have in safe, excluding the $100 that we opened for. You see where I'm showing it now?
So say it one more time.
So you know how we opened originally for $100 and then we had a sale and then we had $261.92. So basically all I'm going to count for is the cash in safe, meaning like this is the amount that I took from actually like from sales, not from what I used to start my cash drawer shift. So this is the amounts that I'm going to want to deposit in the bank. Your credit card sales and stuff like that, those will be pretty self-explanatory. You just make those deposits and such for them. But when it comes to the cash, you need to say, okay, out of that $162, what am I taking to the bank? And this is where I would say this is what I'm actually depositing. I just hit enter, and it'll show this is my cash and safe after the deposit. And then I'll have the option below. You give your deposit number, and that's where you would type that number. I think you guys do a date range, if I'm not mistaken, when you guys make deposits. Is that correct in saying that you put the store number with the date? Is that correct?
Oh no, I don't put we don't put the store number with the date.
I can't remember what it is. I know with accounting they wanted a certain
36, store 36.
Yeah, I think it's a certain format. I can't remember what they want. But that's where you would put that deposit number in. Once you're good with that, like I said, when you guys make that closing at the end of the day, or if you transfer cash out of your cash store shift throughout the day, it's gonna reflect here. It's not gonna reflect the amount that you opened with, so you won't have to worry about that. Once you're done, you just say hit make deposit, and it's just gonna say you want to make this deposit. You just say yes, and what's gonna happen is it'll generate a report here in a moment, and this is just a little copy of like the slip or the deposit slip saying that this is what was made for cash and checks, and it'll tell you the total that you did. And that's really it for the deposits itself. Any questions with that? So
no, that's good.
All right, so I just wanted to make sure like we understood the difference between the cash transfer and then the deposit. Like I said, the deposit will be correct at the end of the day, but like since you guys don't need to necessarily make a deposit right away, if you want to make the deposit after you do the cash transfer, that's fine. But in order to create a deposit, you have to do either a closing of cash drawer shift or do a cash transfer.
Yeah, that's why I had to ask, because we're so like, now we'll do a midday deposit, but now you're telling me I need to do a transfer. So I just want to make sure I transfer midday and deposit at night.
Yeah, exactly. The terminology is just different from the old software to the new one. Like I said, because of the fact that it's really not a deposit until the day's over with or till you guys are closed for business. And so that's why it's called a cash transfer at this point, because you have the option to move money from the drawer at any point, and then you just have to account it somehow. if you do it anyways, it's still going to bring, like, say you forget to actually do the cash transfer itself, it's still going to bring that money over in at the end of the day, even if you've already moved that money, but we're not going to have a record of it. That's all I was trying to make sure that we were clear on. So, like, say, you opened for $200 and you had $200 in sale, and say you moved $50, throughout the day at some point, but forgot to do the cash transfer, we'll still move over that $200 that you guys sold at the end of the day, at the end of the cash store shift, but we're not going to have a record of you ever moving that $50 over beforehand. Does that make sense now?
Gotcha. It does.
Cool. So that's pretty much the gist of like how the point of sale works and opening to closing procedures. And any operations that you might have to do throughout the day for like voiding, reprinting an invoice. You have your payouts from here as well. So everything has under cash flow management. It's kind of like what you do for just like assisting like with reporting. When it comes to like getting receipts, getting out of the receipt and stuff like that. Like I said, it won't let you void if you're not open, and it won't let you void after the fact, after you've closed the business day, and that's just security
Yeah.
measures. Once you're done with that, you do have the option. I want to go over inventory a little bit with you as you guys go along. We're probably going to do a quantities import for you guys at first, but as you guys go along, I just kind of want you to know how to do this. So you can select based on your parts and lubricants. Inventory report's going to show you what you have on hand and what you sold month to date, meaning you have the option to tell your start date of a month and then the end date, kind of go from there. It's not like the end of month where you have to print out an end of month report and stuff like that.
So like, what if I just want to see what I have on hand right now for the day?
So it's going to go through a list of all your parts, and you guys have a lot of parts, so it's going to take a minute for it to generate. Not a huge deal, but this will show you based on your quantities, what you've received, what your ending quantities are and such, how much you've sold. It'll tell you, what you started the day with, what you ended the day with,
So
what's
right
on
now
hand.
it doesn't.
So it doesn't have
Right
really,
now it doesn't show anything.
well, like I said, we don't have really a starting quantity for you guys. We show that we have something
Yeah.
received, but we never like actually put in the quantity for it. Because of the fact
Gotcha.
this is more just test right now, but this will be your report that shows you everything. Once you guys start looking into it, it'll make more sense as you go along, but it'll tell you how much you sold for the month based on the date range that you
The
select
starting
at the top.
quantity is what I'm looking at.
Yeah, it's starting quantity is what you're looking at right now on that column that has some numbers in it that goes all the way over. And like I said, that's probably just coming from an import that we did.
Well, I'm just saying, like, when I'm counting inventory, for example, I would want to look at this side for what's on hand.
Yep. So scroll back up real quick, if you don't mind.
It says it right there. I just wanted to make sure.
No, you're okay.
Right. Come on. There you are.
Yep.
Starting quantity.
Starting quantity, starting on hand, received, adjusted, transferred, sold, ending, and ending on hand. And then you'll notice at the top it shows, parts that you sold in the meantime, based on there. Like,
yeah.
And then, as you go along, those numbers will get bigger and such. And you can minimize those dates, or you can put them for every day of the month. So you have managed purchase order. So this is how you guys will enter in quantities into your system. You have adjustments and transfers elsewhere, but you have create manual PO. Then you have vendors type. So you have different vendors. So let's just say fill pack. We're going to do a fill pack part order.
Oh.
So what you'll notice is when I select that vendor, it's automatically going to select which one I'm using. Or if say I don't select one at all, I can say create a manual PO.
Yeah.
And this is where I'm going to be able to select a vendor here, or I can add a vendor if I need to. It'll tell your destination sort of the store that it's going to come into. And then you'll see here I can select whichever vendor. I have to have a vendor no matter what in order to do a purchase order. And this is where I can put in my purchase order number.
Well, I'm surprised y'all don't have Pew in there already. That's the biggest vendor we got is Pew.
Which one?
Pew.
Pew. Gotcha. I don't know for sure why it doesn't have it in there. But like I said, this will all be ready to go, like cleaned up for you guys when you guys are ready to go. This is kind of just what we have in place right now so that we can do training and get you guys more up to speed with how everything's going to operate. So you'll notice here I put in the PO number. It'll tell me my creation date and such. You'll see my categories I can select through. So as I go along, I can select, a different category. So say I want to do parts, and then say I want to do just oil filters. I can go into oil filters, and tell me my different item names over here, and I can scroll this over if I need to see each one to make sure I'm putting it on the right one. It'll tell me my unit cost on the right hand side. We'll just say the A1149 is the one that we're looking at right now, and we'll check that here in a moment, what the cost is and everything. You'll notice here at the bottom, let's make sure we select we'll just say it's coming from fill pack, and purchase order numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'll notice here that you have the quantity on hand. You'll tell your item category, description, name, type, and everything like that. But say it's quantity on hand, it'll tell you just need to fill out what needs to go in here. It has a decimal value here. So based on what you receive it as, it says I'm receiving as each. So that's going to be 5 total. And basically what will happen is that it's going to add that amount to the order, meaning that's what we're ordering for this. And I just hit save. Yeah, and so what will happen is those purchase orders will queue up here, and as you start receiving those orders, what will happen is you'll need to go back in here and you'll need to say I received this. You can say I received a partial order. You can say I received everything, and basically close and receive all will close every item that I have in here. Receive partial means I select which one that it is, and I would just say okay, I received these items, and it can say oh, I want to receive this amount. You know what I mean? Say I ordered 5, but they only sent 4. And I could say I received these items. And I say, do you want to receive the partial shipment? You could say yes. But say, they give you the whole thing. You just say, I want to close and receive all items. And they'll say, do you want to add it to inventory? You'll say yes.
Yeah.
And then basically what's going to happen is it's going to move those to inventory. And you'll notice that the purchase order removes itself. That's how you would order parts, and that's how you would receive parts in. And then as you do that, you can just say, okay, I'm done here. Let's go to our inventory report real quick, and we'll look up air filters together. Inventory count, it's just a physical count sheet. So basically, if you need to print out a physical count report, that's just going to be where, you can say, okay, I counted this much on shelves, and that's where you do your adjustments and such.
Yeah.
And so this will generate real quick, and I'll show you where it displays that we received that amount for the A1149. All right, so go down to our air filters here. So we'll notice that A1149, we received a quantity of 5. That's my ending quantity of 5, and that's my cost is $8.75 based on how many I ordered. And if I scroll back up, you'll notice where I'm referring to that number. But that's what happens after you receive a purchase order. It'll tell you how much you received, your ending quantity now, and such. And then it'll tell you based on your amount there. And that's how you'll know that you received something. Adjustments and transfers, that's after you do your physical count and such. You can say, all transaction types at the top. This will tell you what type of transaction you want to do. So you'll see that you have your purchase order there of, this amount right here. You'll notice here that someone did something at one point. Let's cancel that. Someone did something here on 6/5 at one point. It might have been us. I don't know for sure. But you'll see here that. Go ahead.
I think that's like the little software. I think it's like the little bit of a database y'all put in there.
Gotcha.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, I don't know where it came from, but it's in there. But you'll see that we have all these here based on the transactions. But say you need to do a new adjustment transaction, you can just select a new adjustment. Basically, select your category again. Say, let's just go to the air filter since we do have a quantity for that one. And you can select it or filter it by vendor. So say, it's a fill pack one. You do it that way, but I wouldn't worry about that right now. I would just refer to the part numbered here. So you'll see that on hand I show 5, but say really it was 4. Say I want to make it to 4. All I need to do is just change this to 4. We're not trying to add or subtract or anything. It's just basically put in what the actual amount is.
What you got. Yeah.
Like what you guys have been doing. Once you're finished with that, you can view the report, or you can just say save. Once you hit save, it
Yeah.
says you sure you want to save this inventory transaction. You just say yes. And then basically what's going to happen is that at the top, that's the new quantity. And it's just going to finish saving. And then it'll show you that the quantity change was -1 filter, new quantity on hand is 4. And you can always, view that report and print it out, just like your inventory logs that you guys have already. But basically now if you go into your quantity on hand, it would show it as 4 for that part. Simple enough. And do you guys do transfers and adjustments out? Like, do you transfer between store to store?
Rarely.
Rarely.
We do, but not, that's a rare thing.
So you have a new transfer out. Basically, if you have something that you're transferring to a new store, you can do it that way. I don't think you guys are going to be doing anything like that right up front. If you do have that, we can go over that as we go along, but it's kind of just the same gist of what you're sending out, who you're sending it to. So you'll see here, you can select the store number and such, and then find the store, put in a note saying we're transferring this many out or something, and then put in your quantity that's going out from it. So, off this one, I would say I'm taking off, I'm sending over 2 to this store, and then it would send it over there once you hit save at the bottom.
Okay.
All right. And then once they receive it, it would remove it. So, okay. So simple enough there. So that's all it is for the software itself. The accounts receivable, all the fleets are in there. They'll be set up with, your fleet settings and such. You won't have to really do much there. It's kind of like what you guys do in place now. In the point of sale, when you do select a customer, they have the option below, and I'll go in there real quick just kind of show you. So we'll just put in that name that you had the last time. We'll just exit out of here real quick, just so that you know how to do a fleet. So if it is a fleet account at the bottom, you'll have the option to select that down at the bottom. You just click on it where it says accounts receivable, and you can assign an AR account to it. Once you enter that customer in, once you do that, you can just go, select it by the account number here, and you'll see that you have all your different fleets right here, and then you can just assign it to that. So anytime you get one in, this is how you would enter your fleet to a customer, and you can just say save at that point. Any questions with that on how to add fleets?
No.
All right, perfect. So I don't think there's anything else to cover. Was there any questions that you had, Gabriel, that we didn't feel like we covered for you?
No, everything's pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to play with it some more. I'm going to start training my guys a little bit more on it until the next session we have where I need to learn more. If I got any notes, I'm going to take some notes, and then I'll bring them up the next time we speak.
Okay.
If I need to.
No, that's perfect.